Hi, my name is Ian Garrett, and I am the Chief Innovation Officer of Infinite A Institute. We are a consulting firm specializing in social impact financing. Today, we're happy to be here with everyone in order to discuss our journey, or what is the beginning of a journey, of a 10-week process to go through the lean business model. Our team members that are going to join us as we proceed through this process are Alita Karchner, who is a social innovation consultant, Walter Battle and Sharon Hansen, which are our consultants as well, out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and of course myself. This week in particular, as we have begun the process, the number of interviews that we have completed are a total of 8. Our total interviews to date are 12 interviews to date, and we'll go on and discuss a little bit more about what our experience was this week as we conducted our first week of interviews. A couple of the key things that we found throughout this week in particular were a new area requiring or having possibilities of social impact financing, in particular waste management. We ran into organizations that were having problems as far as waste reduction are concerned, and saw particular opportunities for social impact financing to address that issue. Also, we discussed with particular organizations concerns about the availability of low-income housing as well, something that is strategically important right now under current economic conditions. Also, a few other interviews that were conducted. We were able to talk to individuals in the banking industries, and we discussed the Community Reinvestment Act. We've seen white papers that have been on the internet before concerning the possibility of utilizing the Community Reinvestment Act for social impact financing products such as the social impact bonds. And so we're trying to discover what it is, if at all, anything that can be done in order to expedite exponentially the utilization of those funds in order to fund social impact financing, specifically our model that we are bringing through the lean process right now, which is the micro social impact bond. If you look at our business model canvas, in particular, we've started looking at customer segments. Who really is our customer segment? Now, right now, we're currently in the design phase of approximately 6 micro social impact bonds around the country. On average, those capital requirements for those social impact bonds are about $1.5 million. But although we're in the middle of this process, we just want to do some more research and development and to be able to discover what else is it that we can do in order to streamline this particular process. Now, in the past, we've had grassroots organizations that have essentially served as the cornerstone for facilitating any type of social impact bond, or in our case, dealing with our micro social impact bonds. And so what we found is if we go into an organization, if we go into a community and we utilize those particular resources in order to maximize and enhance that particular community, that they usually and traditionally serve as the cornerstone for attracting any particular investment. But in other scenarios, we've seen where going and talking to the individuals that are in the philanthropic or the private sector, that talking to these individuals does have merit in order to find out what their needs are, what their wants are, and how we can make a product that is not only investor friendly, but also something that does still empower the grassroots organizations and allows them to have a voice and to have an equal place at the table. Now, what is our market type? Our market type is a resegmented market. Right now there is an existing market of organizations that are facilitating the creation of social impact bonds. Now, on average, the capital requirement for those social impact bonds, which are only maybe about between 5 or 6 or 7 in the country, and the average capital requirement for those social impact bonds is about $15 million. Now, there are a lot of organizations that don't need $15 million. There are a lot of issues that don't need $15 million. And in addition to that, there are a lot of investors that don't want to take that type of risk regarding putting up $15 million to address an issue. And so we seek to corner the market underneath $5 million regarding the capital requirement to initiate these social impact bonds, specifically our micro model. We know that there are clients that we have spoken to as far as Benin, Africa, that may be running a school and their annual budget is only $7,000 a year. They don't need $15 million. They only need $7,000. And so in the majority of the developed world, where even $10,000 can go a long way, you don't want to put any type of restrictions on the capital requirements for these particular deals. Otherwise, you're going to essentially marginalize a large percentage of the global population. And so in this particular segmented market, we believe that we're right. We believe that a lot of other organizations, just from our own experiences, just from the particular clients that we've already acquired, that people do want this type of streamlined approach. They do want an approach that makes it where government is optional for these types of deals, as opposed to where government is a required aspect of the deal. Government can often be slow. Government can be rigid. The political environment can be cancerous to these type of multi-yeared initiatives. And so we believe we're right. We believe that from our experience there aren't a lot of people in this space. And we'll talk about our competitors in a moment. So what is the market size? What's the market look like? Regarding globally financial transactions and investments, there is a market of $210 trillion. Now, regarding the available market, in the United States alone, socially responsible investments or assets that are managed under guidelines that adhere to social responsibility, there's a market of $6.5 trillion that are under management right now in the United States. Our target market is specifically the social impact bond market. Those individuals that want to use and utilize social impact bonds as a efficient tool in order to achieve projected outcomes, in order to fund social initiatives, and to do so in a way that is performance based and that is efficient and that addresses the particular needs of organizations, individuals, and communities. There are only, like we discussed, 5 or 6 social impact bonds that are actually in the implementation stage throughout the United States. More recently, Chicago, the city of Chicago initiated a social impact bond for early childhood development as well. And so you have a lot of cities and large institutions that are becoming aware and becoming interested in this particular concept, but it has not reached the mainstream, and it is taking a long time to do so. And through this particular process, and over the next 10 weeks, one of the things that we seek to accomplish is to expedite this process and really create a whole new market in order to be able to facilitate these particular transactions on a global scale. So we'll talk about our competitors. Who are our competitors? We have Goldman Sachs. They have their Urban Investment Group. They facilitated a number of social impact bonds, including the social impact bond in New York for recidivism, also the social impact bond in Chicago for early childhood development. Third Sector Capital. Third Sector Capital is also another organization throughout the United States that conducts the creation and facilitation of social impact bonds as an intermediary. This organization is one that is conducting current competitions as well. So if you apply and you are accepted, then you are able to work with that particular organization. But there's still a backlog of organizations that are still waiting and have not been lucky enough to be chosen to participate as one of their clients. Now, also, we have Bank of America, that for the first couple of years since the first social impact bond was created in the United States in 2012, Bank of America has pretty much been sitting back and observing the scene and seeing if social impact financing is something that they really want to get involved in. More recently, they have become involved in it, and they will foreseeably be involved in the landscape in the future. But like we discussed, they're dealing with higher value social impact financing as opposed to what we seek to accomplish, which is under the $5 million mark, and facilitating those particular transactions. Social Finance is the first organization in the world to facilitate the creation of a social impact bond. In particular, the first one was done in the UK for recidivism, and so Social Finance is behind that particular social impact bond. They've expanded to other parts of the world, but still there have been relatively few social impact bonds that even they have created. And one of the reasons is just the creation time of social impact bonds. Right now, social impact bonds on average are taking 1.5 years. Now, when you have an outbreak of Ebola, or you have a hurricane or any other natural disaster, when you have a disease outbreak, when you have violence or social unrest, 1.5 years is just entirely too long in order to wait for some type of capital to be integrated into a community or a particular situation in order to address it. And so we seek to accomplish a faster creation time, in particular under 1 year. And so it is through that we seek to distinguish ourselves as an organization, and thus far we seem on target to be able to do just that. Upcoming experiments that we'll conduct through the lean process will be value propositions, just surveying our existing clients. What is it about this particular process, this concept that you like, that you were willing enough to partner with our organization? How can we serve you better? What customer segment are we going after, right? The chicken or the egg? We've discussed before, are you going after the philanthropists, or are you going after the grassroots organizations that are actually doing the work on the ground? Our theory is that you need both. You need both, and they both have to have an understanding. They're both interrelated. You can't ignore one and not be able to cater to the other. And so it's a delicate balance, but it is one that is extremely important to master if these deals are going to be facilitated in a way that is fair, in a way that is investor friendly, and in a way to where everyone who leaves the table feels like they've been heard and that they're walking away with something that they want and something that they find that is valuable. What about channels in order to gaining customer relationships? Our experience has been that content marketing has extremely worked well for our organization as far as relaying the content and our ideas and our methodologies all over the world. And so we will continue to reach out to different thought leaders in different parts of the world in order to continually progress and to streamline our social impact financial products. As far as the revenue model, it's always been difficult, especially among some of the intermediaries that have facilitated these social impact financing deals. The majority of the time, these individuals get paid on the back end as opposed to on the forefront. As you can see, for example, Third Sector Capital, they are working for the Innovation Fund, working with that particular grant and working with organizations throughout the country as a result. But just involvement with the government in many aspects often slows down the process to begin with. And so our goal isn't necessarily to go after government. Our goal is to privately address these issues using capital. And if government wants to jump on later down the road, they can do so, and they can benefit from the results, whether it be a reduction in recidivism, a reduction in crime or violence in a particular community due to programming or due to low income housing availability and revitalizing a neighborhood and making more stabilized conditions. Those are things that the government can benefit from, but we are not particularly waiting on them in order to facilitate and create these particular transactions. That is something that will be done entirely privately. And so over the next, we will continue to interview the philanthropic sector on a local, national, and international scale. And so if any of you out there have any ideas or any suggestions for interviews that we should conduct, or if you would like to be interviewed yourself, please contact us. I can be reached via email at info@infinite, INFINITE 8 Institute, all one word, at infiniteinstitute.com. And so if you guys email me at that particular contact, we can facilitate an interview that is only 10 to 15 minutes. It's completely off the record. There's no solicitation involved as well. We solely seek to revolutionize the process and to expedite the time that these particular vehicles can get to their designated points of creating impact. And so we thank you for your time, and we look forward to working with you guys and having all of you watch and go along on our journey as we take our micro social impact bond model through the Lean Launchpad process. We thank you for your time, and we will see you guys next week.